Morning, good afternoon, wherever you're joining us from. And today we are fortunate to have another exciting session on the always on everybody's top of mind AI world. So today we've got a very, high profile person, Ahmad Awais, and he's already in. So I'm going to quickly go through what the agenda is like. I'm already doing the intro, so I've got less than a minute to be done with that. And this is today's topic. And if you have questions, please put your questions in the Q&A box. I'm going to pass it to him. I think we're going to answer all the questions at the end. So don't feel like we didn't see your question. I'll try to let you know that we've seen your question. And this is his profile. His profile is so huge. I'm probably going to share the link to great. It's even helped me share it. So I'm going to share the link to especially chai.new so that you can try it out. It's a vibe coding for AI agent, and he's got his hand fully into every aspect of the dev world. He's worked with a lot of companies. He's in the open source space, and he's built things that are being used by large organizations and a lot of the Fortune 500 organizations and even NASA. And right now he's building langbase.com and chai.new. So hopefully you get to explore all of what he's going to share with us and also the tools that he's built. And I'm going to quickly just hand over to him. So, Ahmad, over to you. I'm done with my intro, actually.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Michael, for having me here. Pretty excited to be, talking about a topic quite near and dear to my heart. I'm going to do it in two or three different sections. First one is I'm going to talk a little bit about primitives versus frameworks and why you should care about that. And before it, we will be building in live coding AI agents, right? So if you go to command.new, you can, before even I start this talk, I'm going to go ahead and do that, right? So make me an agent to chat with PDF, right? So command is a coding agent that can code for you, but the specialty it has is that it can build you AI agents, and these agents are deployable and infinitely scalable. It will build you the memory infrastructure. It will build you the compute infrastructure. It will build you the agent app. It will allow you to deploy that app as an API all in one go. As you can see, it's already started doing that, right? It will also, explain to you what it is doing, how you can use it or whatnot. Like for example, right now it's creating it has gone ahead and created this agent code uh, which you can probably go through. It will also have created an agent flow. I'm going to zoom in. So, you start a flow, it will see if the PDF content exists. If not, it will retrieve it. Otherwise, it will store it, right? And it will use any LLM. I think it will default to OpenAI's GPT 4.1 for now to create a very simple agent that can use information from that PDF to answer your questions. So very simple flow. And here's a entire code for it. And it is also going ahead and, building the API and the front end of that particular thing. You can use it however you want, right? So as you can see, it's ready. I'm going to go ahead and deploy it, and we'll come back to it. We'll use it in just a minute. I'm probably going to throw in some of the docs that I have here on my desktop, uh, which is, there you go. So what I did was I actually went to my website and I downloaded a couple of these pages as PDFs, which is one is the about page, the other one has my talks on it. And one of these is how to get an API key from Langbase. Now, while all of this is happening, by the way, it's almost about to deployed. It's fast enough, as you can see. It's processing all of these files, it's converting them into chunks, parsing the text and embedding all of that. As you can see, all of these are already done. It should be done creating and building this agent now. As you can see, it's ready. And there should be an app which you can use, right? So I'm probably not going to use this PDF, but I'm going to probably just, I think it basically did something wrong here. Use the agent memories, memory to answer questions instead of asking to upload PDFs, right? So as you can see, I can probably, because agents are, all of these LLMs are undeterministic. It basically understood something completely different and created an app that is, asking me to upload a PDF here, which is not what I want. I wanted a memory. So since you can just chat with it, it is now going to recreate all of this, and it's going to use the pre-stored knowledge, as you can see. This was not the plan, but yeah, we'll go with that, right? While it is doing that, it's the same thing that we just did just a minute ago. It will probably just not ask me to upload the document in the PDF. It should be using it behind the scene. While it's happening behind the scene, let me actually take a step back and talk a little bit about primitives, right? So by the way, first of all, why should you be listening to me? I am Ahmed Aves. I am founder of Langbase and creator of Command. It used to be called Chai. We recently, like a day ago, rebranded it to Command because now Command is able to do a lot more than what Chai was able to do. It can build you agentic apps, agents, deploy them, and we have a huge roadmap of what it can do in the future as well. And I've been on the block for quite a while. I've been on Google Developers Advisory Board, VP of Dev Tools and DevRel at Rapid API, which got acquired by Nokia a couple of years ago. And I've built a lot of automation tools. I have built 100 plus open source software that are used and downloaded like 40, 50 million times a year. Shades of Purple is one of the most common used top 5 VS Code themes that I authored. I love the color purple and the web platform. And I've also created code that went onto NASA Ingenuity's helicopter onto Mars, right? So I've been around this space for quite a while now, almost 20 years now. And in 2020, I was traveling a lot. I don't like to travel a lot. And I ended up, getting an invite to OpenAI in 2020. Like I was talking to Greg Brockman and I was telling him like, I want to suggest next line of code. And in 2020, this is three and a half years before, or almost 2 to 3 years before ChatGPT was launched. I ended up getting an invite to the GPT-3 model. And since then, I've been hacking around and building things. The first thing I built was Langbase. And Langbase is a combination of all of these things that you need to build agents, right? So what I want to share more in this particular talk is that most common agent architecture that is appearing in front of us is that there's an LLM, there's a thread or a memory store, which is short term. There's a context layer, which can have tool calls or any kind of data that you are attaching to your LLM tool call or LLM. And there is a long-term memory, a semantically searchable vector store of sorts. And this becomes a building block of any type of agents you want to build, right? You can call it an augmented LLM or what have you. I'm probably going to deploy this because it's ready. Or like we call it pipe, a prompt instructions personalization engine, which allows you to connect any LLM to any data and build a deployable serverless API, right? Basically, this is an agent, right? And beyond that, what we have seen is that anytime you want to recreate this particular architecture, you basically end up creating different versions of these. Like for doing this, don't do that. For doing that, don't do this. Like it doesn't end up becoming a framework. It ends up becoming a primitive play where you have these building blocks and you are composing them together to build your multi-agent application, which is what we have seen a lot. Like if you go to our docs, langbase.com, you will see that we have created all of these primitives. One is pipe that just like I shared with you right now. Then there's memory, which is an autonomous RAG primitive where you can upload terabytes of data. and search over their data using semantic similarity, like the semantic meaning of your sentences. Then there's a workflow that you probably need to build multi-step agents, a workflow primitive, threads, a primitives to store any kind of agents, conversation history or context. I generally use threads to store context, a lot of it, because every LLM has context windows, but in threads you can store infinite amount of context. Like you're going to have 10 GB worth of context in it. Agents is in AI primitive that allows you to run any type of agents you build completely serverlessly, and it gives you a unified API over 600 plus LLMs. And similarly, we have a parser to parse text from something like CSV or PDF, a chunker to chunk that text into smaller pieces, and other tools, right? All of these collectively help you build any type of agents. Like if you go to our examples in agent architectures, you will see that one of the most common agent architectures that we see from all of these is orchestration worker, right? This is when you give this particular architecture one input, let's say, research this particular topic for me. It has the ability to create n number of more agents on the go on the runtime, and then it can combine all of that with another agent to give you an output, right? This seems very complicated, but a lot of people, when we see that they are using some form of frameworks for this, they get stuck in their the frameworks context. Like if you're using LangChain or something like that, you have to learn how LangChain works before you can actually build what you want to build with that, right? Instead, if you're using primitives and you are building all of these purple blocks, the agents yourselves, and each agent looks like this, it has context thread in memory, then you can basically build anything. And if I go down here, you can see it's I think probably less than 90 lines of code in which we are building multiple set of agents. Let me show you what this looks like. So write a blog post on benefits of remote work. I care about these three things: the environmental impact, work-life balance, and productivity, right? So this is what the user is saying as the input. And as you can see, there's no framework here. And we are basically just running a primitive, right? Similar to, you can have any kind of TypeScript or Python code here. Doesn't really matter, right? And the main orchestrator is like, you are supposed to divide these, whatever the input is, into distinct smaller subtasks, right? And respond with something like this. And here's a worker agent that will pick up that task and work on it. And here's a synthesizer that will basically do this combining part of that, right? Now let me run this basic orchestration worker demo. And as you can see, the orchestrator responded with converting all of that task into multiple subtasks. So write an intro, write about benefits of remote work, on productivity, on work-life balance is another task, and on environmental impact is another task, right? And finally summarize, right? And then worker agents are basically generating all of that, right? So here's another worker agent writing on productivity part. This is the work-life balance workers response, right? And here's another one that is talking about environmental impact, right? So, and it could be anything. It could be a deep research agent that you are building, and finally the entire output, right? And similarly, we have a bunch of other agent architectures that you can go to langbase.com/agents, which is a short URL for this, and you can come up with all of these, like even a memory agent, which can take your data, parse it, chunk it, embed it, put it in our vector store, and then it can rewrite, re-rank, and generate responses from this, right? So the idea behind all of this is that it has become really, really easy to use primitives instead of building or using a framework, right? And I personally believe that a framework cannot be built in this space that would actually work. It's, imagine if AWS decided to say that, okay, we have these 400 primitives, like, right? And you can only use them through a framework that we have built called AWS. And you have to use that weird framework, no matter what programming language you used to care about. But here's a framework that is only in Python or TypeScript, and you have to use that. It would be completely inhibiting, it would be limiting, and instead you should probably be using their databases and their primitives directly. Like for example, one of their primitives is Amazon S3, a service that allows you to uh, upload data and download data, right? So if S3 is that primitive, you should be able to send data to it and download data from it, right? And to do that, you should be able to use their API or maybe their SDK. That's simple. If Amazon were to build a framework uh, for all of this, I doubt that people will use it, right? Because then which programming language would that framework would have been written with, right? And to use this particular primitive, then you will also have to understand how that framework would work, right? On top of learning how these primitives work, right? Similarly, in agent space, instead of building with frameworks, you can pick very simple primitives like we have memory to store all of your context, or threads to store simple conversation based context, and a very simple thing like a workflow engine to step over all of this, right? That is generally much more scalable architecture, right? Now coming back to all of this point, you remember that we were fixing this particular thing that had happened, right? The version 2, as you can see, is already deployed, and it should now be using the memory. Let me actually confirm this from our agent flow. So now what it is doing is I will give an input and it will retrieve the relevant data from the PDF, and then it will query a memory store, which is that memory store, and it will probably use a generate chat response to generate a response from that, right? So, and you can see all of this in the agent code as well. So here's the memory part, right? I'm gonna probably zoom in a little bit. Uh, Here's the memory that we have created. And in this particular step, all that we are doing is just using this primitive based on the input that your user provided, right? And this should probably get us back the relevant content that we can map over and use in a very basic agent that is supposed to answer based on that, right? So now what I've done is I've gone ahead in that PDF memory, and again, I've uploaded a bunch of files which know about my talks, about me, and about how to get an API key from Langbase. So now all of this code, once deployed, is available as an API. You can use this API and you can use whatever programming language you want, and it will infinitely scale because this API for you is serverless. All you have to do is basically send your input to this particular API, right? And obviously, you can come in and make changes here. You can, select a particular step and ask it to improve that step, or you can literally like write code here. This is a code editor, right? But one more step that command can take is it can also build you an AI agent app, which if you are not, if you want, you can make it public and it will become this URL that you can share with anybody. In this agent app can actually use this API in the agents that it has built behind the scene, right? So let's give it a try. Let's ask it who is the founder of Langbase. What are his talks from January to February in 2025? And how do I get an API key for it, right? So right now, all we really did was we basically gave it a very simple prompt here and here, and we got all of this multi-agent setup. We got a memory that is infinitely scalable. We built an agent that can use that memory, and we uploaded those 3 files, which has information on all of these questions. And as you can see, it is able to very easily figure out that I am the founder. And here are some of my talks from, January and February, and this is how you basically create an API key on Langbase, right? As you can see, this was very simple. I can also see that there's a bug here. You can actually go into the app mode and fix the bug. When you give a prompt in the app mode, it will only fix the bugs in the app, not in the agent, right? So this was a very simple demo, right? Let me show you what people have actually done with command, right? Over 140,000 agents have been built with command in 2 months already, right? So here's a very simple agent which can take your receipts and manage your expenses. And because we didn't have an OCR primitive, I basically gave it access to, like, well, I went to Mistral's OCR docs and I pasted, well, this is how you do OCR with Mistral. And I gave it that prompt. It ended up creating this multi OCR setup where it does OCR with Mistral and then with GPT-4 or Vision and created this particular agent, right? And if I go to this agent app, again, all of this code is available for you and it is deployed on Langbase. It works on Langbase. You don't have to figure out deployment, right? If I go to this app, I think it came up with this example based on this URL. I can run this and you will see that all of this information will be OCR'd and you'll be able to see that there you go, Palo Alto in $15, right? So I can change this information however I want. There was a tattoo artist that came to our booth a couple of weeks ago, and she had built a tattoo comparison app, which is, I think, a very common ask in her field, where you can upload two different tattoos and you can compare how they are similar or whatnot. Today, I was talking to somebody and they were like, I want to use Perplexity to find social links for all of my users who are signing up for my app. So that is what we did. Build me an agent that takes the name and gets all of their social media links using Perplexity. I deployed it, and here's a demo of it. Like I put in my name, and it is able to figure out here's my Instagram URL, WordPress, GitHub, personal website, or whatnot, right? Um, it's pretty simple. I think the flow is pretty simple. It's basically going to take your name and it is going to throw that into Perplexity's Sonar Pro model. And then it is going to process and format that response and give it to you the way you want, right? One of the more complicated ones is this one. So I actually built this agent probably over the weekend. So make me an agent that can research a name and make a resume. And I want it to be minimal and really detailed. So Ultra Think It, right? And as you can see, this is one of the one of the more sophisticated agents that I have built with Command. And if I zoom in a little, it is a lot of things that it is doing, right? It's basically doing a comprehensive web research on figuring out my LinkedIn profile, my work history, my education history, all of these fun stuffs. And then finally, it combines all of this. And I can change any of these pieces. I can say when you are analyzing the research data, don't do this, ignore that part, include that part. So it's creating all of this, and finally it is extracting that resume. And then I'm not using any memory here, but I could probably, if I'm I don't know, a recruiter, I could upload a job description and figure out if that is relevant to this particular person, right, that I'm looking for. Again, and I ran it. It takes a bunch of time, as you can imagine. It is researching 40 resources. So while Michael was introducing me, I was just putting in my name here and there, right? So it went ahead and uh, built this entire thing for me, right? So here's my summary. I'm the founder and CEO of this company, achievements. Like all of this is completely done dynamically from my past as well. Obviously, it's not all of this is correct. Like it's correct adjacent. It's pretty good. Like Shades of Purple, I started in 2017. That is correct, right? And you can modify any of it. Like you can build agents that work for you the way you want them to, right? Here's another one. Okay, let me see if I can figure that out. I actually used an MCP. So you can deploy MCP servers on command as well. I said, use Cloudflare browser rendering MCP to read any domain from my URL and do what I want you to do with that particular domain. Like for example, I don't know, let's go with this meetup's URL. And what is this meetup about? And I'm gonna give it a complicated prompt so it comes up with something like, let's say I'm a farmer. Uh, Tell me if this is relevant to me or not, right? So I'm gonna then click analyze, and what it is going to do is it is going to go to this URL and dynamically parse that data in this instruction to figure out if what I'm asking, basically respond back to what I'm asking, the question that I'm asking for. And let me actually go to that URL and see what is on there. Yeah, it should have all of the details of this particular talk, right? Let's see what it comes up with. It's probably gonna take its sweet time to do that. While it is doing all of this, I can probably give you one last demo uh, to make this even easier to understand. And Michael, by the way, we can start having questions at this point as well.
Okay, great. There's one question already, so I'll just prompt people to ask more questions.
Awesome. So if you go to Langbase and sign up, you can also see that we have a playground where you can build really, really well-defined agents. You can sniff through like, hundreds of AI LLMs that we have here. You will still get one single unified API. In this particular agent, I'm giving a demo of agentic RAG, auto RAG. I'm asking a bunch of questions. Who's the founder of Langbase and how tall is he, right? And by default, this is ChatGPT 4.0 latest model, which is quite expensive. And you can see like I'm not Philip Kurt, and it definitely doesn't know how tall I am. In the moment I give it memory, like, I'm going to give it memory for Langbase, and I'm going to add some of my health data in it so it knows how tall I am. It should now be able to use our docs to figure out who's the founder and figure out my name. And then it should be able to figure out through my name if there's a memory for my name and how tall I am, because definitely in my health data, it doesn't say that I'm a founder, right? So it should be able to make those relations automatically using our memory system, right? So I'm going to run this very quickly, and you will see how quickly it figures out that, well, the name of the founder is MLOS and he's 185 centimeter tall, and where it is getting that data from, right? And I can finally, the very last one, I can make use of a dumber model, like, I don't know, Flash 2.0. Let's go with Flash 2.0, right? I'm gonna clean it, run it again, and you will see it doesn't really matter. You have to have a good enough model, and a good primitive will still work. As you can see, even this Flash LLM model is able to use our memory primitive to figure out how tall I am. And this is much more meaningful because if I scale in, zoom into the runs here, you can see if you are running these a million times. This was ChatGPT model. This was Google Gemini. This would have costed you about $21,000 versus 400 bucks, right? So again, you can zoom into this. You can see exactly what data is being augmented and from where, and how you're getting a completion. And finally, you can throw this preview link as a new tab to your teammate or somebody who you are collaborating with, and they can jump in and see all of this. That, okay, this is really nice. This is absolutely cheap. The answers are correct, and what are you doing? And they can then finally click over this preview link and see, okay, you were using this Gemini model. These were the prompts. They can come in and, I don't know, they can start changing things, and they can see what they are changing or whatnot, all of that fun stuff. The entire developer experience is also covered here, right? So, well, this is me, MWS, and this is what we do at Langbase. We help you build agents one way or the other. Um, yeah, happy to take questions now.
Great, thanks. So let's start with the audience questions. I've got some also from the house, like from the platform. And
By the way,
so,
sorry, one last thing.
yes,
It
please.
came back with the answer, so I'll probably
Oh,
just
yeah, yeah,
right
yeah.
share. So here's a URL, right? There's a meetup happening with this title or whatnot. What this meet is about. To a farmer, this is a highly technical focused on software engineering, so probably not related, right? You get the idea, right? But it's also probably giving, how AI can be used in agriculture or whatever, right? So this is basically, this simple agent has turned it can turn any URL into an agent, right?
Oh,
So yeah, and all of this from just one single prompt, right? Now go ahead. Happy to take questions for the third
okay,
time.
great. Yeah, yeah, this is helpful. And I like the fact that it's purely demo driven, the approach you've taken. It will
Yeah,
make
talk is
it a
cheap,
lot
right?
easier.
Yeah, talk is cheap.
Thanks.
Let's build demos, right? So
Great. So, question number one is, without any framework, how do you adapt to API formats of different LLMs? For instance, there are subtle differences in the message format. I hope you got the question. You could
yeah, yeah.
also Okay, okay. I was gonna
Okay,
say you
so
can also see the questions if you have a second screen and you're able to pop up the Q&A. But if you want, I can read
uh,
it again. Don't worry. So let me just read it one more time so you don't have to.
no, no, I,
So,
I, I I got the question. Don't
okay,
worry
great.
about it. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so first thing first, you since this is just code, pure TypeScript, you can just come in and use Claude or OpenAI the way you use them, right? You can go to their docs and you can teach it, well, this is how you can do it, or you can paste in that particular, way of using that particular message formatting that you are talking about, right? Or we strive to support most of the prominent LLMs, right? That is why you will see that langbase.agent.run, this entire step, as you can see, this is right now using OpenAI GPT 4.1 mini, right? You can basically ask it to improve and you can say, well, use Gemini Flash or something, right? This thing, the agent primitive that we have built, has a unified API over 600 plus LLMs. It will not include every LLM, and we have the ability to add new LLMs to it within 24 hours. But most of the common LLMs are already on our unified open router, like very similar to open router, right? So you can basically very easily use this. And how this helps is, you can keep changing models without even worrying about all of the API and message signatures actually changing, right? But this is not to say that this is the right way to do it. All I'm saying is if you want to use our unified API, you can use that, or you can bring in your own, or you can just use the simple SDK or based or API based formats that OpenAI, Claude, Google, Gemini are giving you. We support all these options because we are not a framework, right?
Great, thanks. And let's see if there's any more from the audience. So, okay, so I'll go to some of the questions I have prepared. And one of them is we have a mix of audience. So we've got people who are already exploring AI agents, and they a lot of what you've shared today, there are things they can take away and practice, and maybe they might just go back to the recording to or the links that you have able to share. But we also have users who they are wanting to break into it. So I'll use the words of one of them that I met somewhere, and in his word, he doesn't do coding day in, day out. So what he wants is he knows he manages developers, and so he knows he's a product manager. He knows what kind of solutions he wants, and so he's beginning to think of how he can use AI agents, in a more practical way. So to kind of frame a question out of the way he explained it to me, because I think there are categories of attendees that fall into that bracket. They have things that they believe that they could use AI agents for. Their issue is in two parts. One part is knowing when to use the foundational uh, chat wrapper models like the chat GPT that is foundational, and Claude, knowing when to just stick to that and when to move up and begin to use agentic AI
Oh,
platforms
okay.
like yours. And so that's question one.
Mhm.
So you helping to clarify why someone would want to, who's already a subscriber of ChatGPT, want to use this. Maybe I'll pause there and I'll come with question
Yeah,
two from that part.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think what you're trying to ask is, I am using something like ChatGPT. Uh, when uh, when do I actually go ahead and start using agentic platforms? I think
Yes.
I'll probably clear, and this is my definition of it, and you can agree to it or disagree with it. I'm fine, right? But I think agents are just code, right? So there's this thing called. So here's what's happening, right? For example, Michael, if I ask you which school did you go to, that may be like 5, 10 years ago, and your brain will instantly fill your memory with the context that you need to answer that question, right? It will
Yeah.
put attention to that part of your life, right? Like this is the question, where did you go to school? And here's your brain, and it went I don't know 10 years in the past and gave you all the right context, and all of a sudden you're going to start answering my question. This is attention. You can put attention to any part of your life that you remember and you can talk about it, right? This was invented as an algorithm in 2018, 2017, 2018, and they wrote a paper around it called Attention is All You Need, right? What they basically had done was they had created a programming algorithm using neural networks that can do exactly this. If you give it any amount of data and train it on that data, it can then answer questions about that data like it is its life, right? So what ChatGPT did was it took OpenAI. It took all of the public data and it trained it on that attention algorithm, and what it got was LLMs, large language models, right? Now, large language models, they've seen probably anything on Wikipedia, and you can ask them, and they can answer that question for you without even being connected to the internet, right? Uh, Now, what's happening is these LLMs actually do not know anything about your private data, right? Like how tall is Michael? They would probably not know if that is not public knowledge, right? Or how can your customer use your product, right? They don't know which customer you're talking about because that data is locked in systems that you own, right? So the opportunity is in building, you know, use cases around your private data, right? And every time you use an LLM to build something, the code you write is called an agent, right? So agent is just a way of using LLMs. That's it, right? Uh, ChatGPT by itself is a set of agents, right? For example, you can talk to GPT-4 in it, and it will just talk to GPT-4, or you can run deep research, which creates a bunch of different small agents to solve a problem and then combines them and gives you that information, right? But it cannot do everything, right? It cannot do anything that it does not have access to, right? So what you can do is any kind of information you have, any access you have to a private data, you can build an app and make it agentic, because agent is code, a new form of code. And in our in from where I sit, I have seen that agents are mostly middle to middle, so they're not end to end. So something will need to be happen. Some data will be collected. Some human or some software will do something, which will finally get to this particular agent in the middle, which will do something intelligent to another middle stage, which will again then will be processed by a human in the loop or something, right? Uh, Before it is actually useful, right? So it is agents are just a piece of this intelligence that you can put in anywhere and make it make sense. I'll give you a very good example. We have a user, a customer. Every time a user joins their platform, they create an agent for that user, right? So for I think they have around 22,000 users. So they have 22,000 agents on our platform for each of their users, right? Now, every step that this user takes, right? Have this user visited our pricing page before? Or I don't know, has this user used this feature A or feature B so far, is recorded as a memory for that particular user. Let's call it user A, right? Now they have a master agent behind the scene, which can do a lot of things. What they do is they tell a master agent, we want you to drive a lot of traffic to feature B, right? And this master agent goes to each of their user agents, asks if this person has ever used the feature B, how well they're using it. Do they know about how this particular use case? And if user A has not done that, they can easily use another agent to create an email. Come on, what just happened here? Yeah, they can use another agent that they can build on fly that can create an email using all of this context. Like, you are a customer of ours for 2 months and you've never used this thing. How about you use it for this thing? And this is how you would use it. And it drives massive adoption for them, right? So this is not an
Right.
if and else play, right? So you cannot do it in an if and else thing, right? It's a middle
Yeah.
to middle. In some middle to middle play, there's some intelligence being used, which is super helpful. Now, where we come in is this can become a huge engineering uplift if you try to do everything here by yourself, right?
Yeah.
So, if your customers overnight go from 20K to 100K, are you sure you have enough engineers to manage that infrastructure, right? So we have built in agent infrastructure that is serverless for you. You can create millions of agents on our platform and it will continue to scale. That is what we do. That is the business we are in, right? Without you having to worry about like, oh, now I need to hire people to scale of all of this system or whatnot, right? Where these agents are actually running, right? I hope this actually helps, right?
Oh, this is way more than even the answer I was expecting. Like, this is eye-opening, especially this use case. Maybe I'm going to scrap the second part of the question. The second part of the question I was going to ask was more about, what's your opinion about graph-based approach to agentic AI app building versus the other approach that is it more results, eval driven? I don't know what to call the other approach that is not graph based. Like, do you have some opinion? I've seen some back and
Yeah.
forth between different experts on this.
Yeah, I think I'll give you my raw opinion. I think it's in a lot of over engineering there, right? Uh, Again, if you believe what I believe, that every time you want to use an LLM, the code you write to use that as an agent, then that agent doesn't always need a graph, right? Because graphs are very peculiar about how, like for example, a lot of people, when I tell them, when you're inserting data into your particular graph, are you taking care of that it is ending up in the right location? And the most common answer I get is, oh, the framework takes care of it. No, the framework can never understand what data is, what piece of data that you're adding, how important that is. You'll build your very basic graph, but if you don't take care of that graph, right? If you don't build those relations yourself, that graph is actually going to do a lot of disservice to you, and it will be a lot of compute wasted for no reason, right? So graphs definitely have their, uh, use cases that work really well, but I refuse to believe that every use case out there should be put in a graph, right? That is very hard to manage and very less agentic, right? In Like for example, if you ask command to build an agent, and even if you upload it, like I was looking at this one thing, let me see if I can figure it out. So somebody gave me their tic-tac-toe code that was built with graph, right? So I was like, okay, make this agent, and I just pasted that entire graph. And the first thing did was like, let me rip out that graph out of it because that is not needed. And it built this entire system. You can see the entire flow. This flow is just explaining what is happening here. This is not an actual graph. It's just a set of if and else loops, right? And as far as I remember, this actually works like GPT 4.19 moves. Let's pit these two models together and see which one wins. I think GPT 4.0 will the player O. Uh, and none of this is built with graph, right? So yeah, graphs. There you go. The winner is player X. Oh, weird. GPT 4.11. It's always dynamic,
Nice
right? You can see the entire
moves.
flow of how, like which player went where. Even though GPT 4 is a better model. No, I
Model.
think 4.1 is a better model. I thought this was GPT this is the O series model. Yeah, it's a raw, right? So again, it's a fun thing, but again, no graphs here, right? Well, you
Mm.
have to have a really good reason to use graph. Otherwise, why use something that might be completely over-engineered for your use case, right? Yeah.
Now the questions are coming in. Do you have a hard stop for time so that I know how to help make
Ye-
people's expectation be set? Because I see now the questions are coming in.
Yeah, I can do another 12 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So I'll start with the questions people have asked so that I don't use the ones I've prepared to take up the time. So there's a member right here who, for him, he's got a consulting company, and they've been trying to build solutions and incorporate AI and LLM-based solutions for companies that they've got across bank and oil and gas. So he's asking that, I'll twist his question in a way that how have you seen people try to use agentic AI to provide more business insights as a consultant to banks, oil and gas, and most of these large organizations that they have the data, they have the infrastructure, they are ripe for unlocking productivity, but maybe they want to use a sandbox approach that, let's say, an external consultant come do something for a small segment of their business before they scale it up or validate that they want to go fully into it. Have you seen what advice or what can be like things you've seen that you want to share as answers to him?
Yeah, I think maybe more than 50% of the users of Command are consultants, by the way, right? So they're having a day, right? They couldn't build a lot, they couldn't write a lot of code before, and now they are able to, right? So the biggest thing, like our research on this is also public. If you go to stateofaiagents.com, you can read about how people are building agents. So most of your question will get answered based on this, and we continuously update it. Like for example, if you're, I don't know, researching in health, you should probably be using some model from Google versus OpenAI. Their health models are really well, right? And there's a lot of data in here. You should probably look at, right? The other one is the other part was going on-prem, or what was the second part of the question?
Okay, that's just it's one question. It was more about like, if
How
I
to
read
do
it,
it?
how do you incorporate AI agents as a solution to provide business insight for private companies? So I'm going to get this link. I've grabbed it. I will share it. That you say here we can see you've got details of how people are already using AI agents across different industries, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. And the idea behind command for us was people are still figuring out like how can I build an agent that does this, and that, right? And we wanted to short
Yes.
circuit it. We wanted to move the debate away from frameworks and this and that and technology to, is it actually solving your problem, right? Right. So I started calling my own bullshit, like I'm a founder of an AI company and I had like maybe less than 10 agents working for me. Right now I have like more than 200, right?
Wow.
uh, every time I get an idea, like, oh, whenever I'm sending an email to somebody on this and this, can I have some AI do this and that, and basically fixes that for me, and it gets me to, I don't know, 80-90% of there. Like sometimes even it is really useful, but it gets me out of the comfort zone of like, oh, we will spend 6 months building something like this, and maybe we will see if that succeeds, right? And it has helped us reduce our POCs a lot. So a lot of POCs I hear that consultants go through are like, will it actually work? And the time it
Yeah.
takes for a very simple solution to be built is too much and cannot scale, right? So command, they generally, I've seen like, I can probably show you like, if I show you the last 3,000 agents that have been built with command, are, oh, this page is slow, right? So almost every other minute you will see that, an agent is being built. Like there you go, like people are building all sorts of fun stuff. And what we see is a lot of people are actually trying to figure out if this use case will work or not, if that use case will do something that they wanted to do or whatnot, right? And that really helps. Like we got one of our biggest customers through a consultant as well. They wanted to build a per person agent for their gym. It's a huge franchise. They have 100 plus gyms across the United States, and everybody's needs are different, right? Everybody's health routine is different, their data is different, right? So they wanted every single member of the gym to have a personalized AI agent they can talk to. Like, what am I supposed to eat right now? I'm feeling hungry, right? And they're seeing a lot of success on that, right? But it all happened because we were able to very quickly show them that this is what it will feel like. And their, coaches who are non-technical actually ended up customizing those agents for each of their, uh, you know, uh, members, right? So that is where we thought like this was really, really good, right? So again, if you can build those agents very, very quickly, that is probably the biggest advantage you have in the market versus figuring out a lot of other rest of the technical stuff, right?
Oh, wow. Thanks. Okay. So there's one more question which I think I will combine one in-house question with it. And let's see. So Dave VJ is asking, with AI agents and agentic workflows becoming so common, what are the next what are the next big areas of innovation in these architectures? In
Oh,
fact,
there's a lot
I'll just
happening,
let
right?
you answer.
Yeah, there's a lot happening in this space. So transformer model, which all of these LLMs are built on top of, they are an undeterministic, non-deterministic model, right? So a lot of research, including us, we are doing a lot of research into figuring out if we can bring in neurosymbolics here. Neurosymbolics are much more defined, where we can build, where we can have AI that is more dependable, right? So right now, what's happening is, let me put it this way: uh, we are creating different parts of our brain, and right now, all these transformer model-based LLMs have been able to accomplish is how to learn knowledge, right? Like for example, we have tools like hands and our legs, but using our hands and legs, we can learn to drive a car, and all of a sudden, we have a new tool, right? That is the kind of capability that transformers have, but we also have a lot of guardrails and symbolic information in our brain that just these LLMs cannot do, right? So a lot of new research is being made around that topic of if we can make AI a lot more deterministic. If we ask it to always do this thing, it will always do that thing. Even in this, like I almost always create a PDF chat agent for a demo, and even then sometimes it just decides to do something different, right? So these are non-deterministic intelligent systems, and a lot of research is going into making them a lot more deterministic, right? Which will be a different architecture than what we know of right now.
Great. So final question, and then we'll let you go. It's well, maybe there's one more question, but that's usually the general question I ask everybody. So the final one for the topic is, what are your thoughts on eval? I've been hearing a lot about how for production, evaluation, eval is a key thing, testing. Then there's always been the prompt engineering, context engineering, and even when to begin to consider model fine tuning. What are your thoughts? I know it's a lot I put into one, but I know your answers will always be very eye opening.
Yeah. I think evals are good. I think most of these research labs are building ELLMs that can evaluate themselves as well. Like you can, in near future, you will be able to give them like, oh, this is the type of data, this is the type of constraints you want them to follow, and they will just follow it, follow them. So I think over pivoting towards the current models in their eval systems is a bad idea. You should probably build something that would work on future models versus the capabilities of current models. And instantly you will see that you will have a lot of product market fit on that, right? And context engineering is probably not going away. In fact, in a couple of days, I'm about to publish a blog post around context engineering, in how it is much bigger superset of prompt engineering, and how we can build context is king in this space, right? Like for example, look at Cursor. Cursor is, they don't have their own LLMs. Like they're probably using Claude for Sonnet 4 behind the scene most of the times, right? They don't use, they have not built their own infrastructure, most of it, as far as I can understand, right? But similarly, GitHub Copilot and a bunch of other tools, right? They're not research. startups, but what they are doing is they are able to build up the right context to solve your problems, right? So context engineering is probably going to stick here a lot longer, and we'll peel a lot of layers of context engineering, figuring out that, oh, this is how this works, and that is how it works. And in fact, as a company, Langbase, we are about to launch a bunch of context engineering primitives. Like, here's a huge amount of context. Just summarize it into this amount of context window for this model. We are already using them in command, and we are going to, build a product around that as well. But yeah, all of this is useful. But make sure when you're building on top of it, you're not over pivoting towards one weird particular framework that somebody built, because otherwise you'll be your pros and cons will be stuck with their pros and cons, right?
Yeah.
These LLMs are by default really, really good. So building with primitives, cloud primitives that can automatically scale will help, or building with primitives, even if they are not cloud primitives. Like, here's a function that I created, which is a sub agent. I will use that sub agent whenever my agents need to do more than what they can manage, right? So those primitives, and it's easier than ever to write code, right? So the idea of frameworks was, I will write less code, but is that really what you want right now? Right? LLMs are able to write a lot of silly code that a lot of people didn't really like to manage before, right? So again, purchase decisions, build decisions, buy decisions, all of these are changing because of how intelligent LLMs are. And you should carefully understand that you should be building for future. Like, will this primitive or will this framework will be relevant? Will this LLM be relevant? And one last thing, never try to improve an LLM, right? Like, especially the SOTA LLMs, like state of art LLMs, never try to improve that. That is the job of these research labs. Every time you try to improve their LLMs, they will either end up replacing your startup, right? Or they would either be working on that before you anyway, right? So always try to bank on the raw power of an LLM versus trying to fix how those LLMs work, because that is what these research labs are working on, like Anthropic and OpenAI, right? Awesome. That's pretty much it.
Oh, thanks. That's very eye opening. So to the last one, which is not related to today's topic, it's we ask every special guest, it's about their journey. And for you, it's your profile it shows more about your person. Like it seems you're doing something you enjoy, and you even this is cutting edge, and you've been doing a lot of things. You've always pivoted to something that you're passionate about. So are you able to share about your unique journey? If imagine I am 17, 18-year-old and I'm looking to gain inspiration from your journey, how would you answer my question about sharing about your journey in this tech space and you founding companies, leading companies, working in all aspects of it, open source, with large companies, even for NASA. I'm ready to soak all of this info in, and I know a lot of people on the call and watching who will watch the recording too. These are things they like to hear from special guests.
Well, thanks a lot. Thanks for the kind words. I just like to build stuff and share it with people, right? And that turns out to be a good habit, right? I never really think that something that I'm doing is too small or too big, right? Generally, I do a lot of small things that turn out to be really good. I always have had this, uh, uh, like, at least for the last 15 or so years, I've read a lot of source code. I read a lot of source code, which kind of, our brain has a powerful way of indexing different things, and eventually it translates all of that reading into different ideas that I can execute, right? And when I build and share even small little things that are generally mostly useful for me, sometimes they turn really, really big. Like, I remember, like, Langbase, actually, I did a very silly demo for OpenAI. I wonder if this actually still works. It was in 2020. Nobody knew how GPT-3 worked,
Wow.
and I had gotten access to it, so I built this. Like, this talk is shit, right? And it would judge you. I wonder. Oh, there you go. It still works, right? So this dog is shit. If you said something bad, it will judge you. And if you try to submit that feedback, it will take you to my email, like, now go ahead and tell me why this was shit. Right? and and if you said this talk is the shit, right? It would understand the context. And if you now
Oh,
submitted it,
wow.
it would be like, tweet that shit, right? Right. And behind the scene, it was like Langbase was just a silly playground, because OpenAI at that time didn't have a playground. So I built this as a
Oh,
playground. It was just a silly side project. And I wanted to share with people that, well, let me actually open this up. That all it takes is you pick an LLM, you tell it, analyze the sentiment of the message coming in, you give it the examples, like, only always use from unhappy, happy, neutral. And then you give it a couple of examples, like, this meetup was really not fun, unhappy. This was super fun, happy, and give it a few examples. Nowadays, the LLMs are much smarter. You don't even need to give these examples. Like, for example, this was quite a bit uh, of info, right? So hopefully this will probably gonna come and say neutral, right? There you go, right? So, and this
cool.
is from 2020. Like, this was
Wow.
this one page was the entire silly side project to explain to people like how the pipe thing that I shared with you was working, and now it's like a huge company and 700 million agent runs per month, right? So building things and shipping them really helps. And with command, we are trying to, I'm at least trying to enable you all to build a lot of agents. If there are people here who have not built and deployed an agent, that should change today, right? There's no excuse anymore, right? So once you do that, a world opens up where you can, oh, I can now do this. And you can then start to figure out like where the, product is, or where the, useful use cases, right? Anywho,
Wow.
yeah.
Thanks a lot. And I'm gonna work on that your request to have more people build agents. In the communication we send out to people with the recording and all, we'll probe them to build more agents, to try out command.new, and it's easy to get started. I know that you've shared most of what you shared has been via, it's been the TypeScript code it's shared. But for those of us that use Python more, I'm guessing there's somewhere behind where we could like flick a switch to say should do Python scripts, right?
Yeah, so all of the primitives on Langbase are based on APIs, right? So everything you see here
Oh, I
has
get
API,
it.
and you can use an API. We have an SDK, which is so far TypeScript SDK, but command only does TypeScript, because all of the agents, most of the agents, I shouldn't say all, but most of the agents that are working really well are built on TypeScript. TypeScript has a lot of tooling. If you're an academic researcher, Python makes sense. But if you're taking it to production, type you should probably definitely use TypeScript. Like Cursor is TypeScript, VS Code is TypeScript, Replit is TypeScript, Lovable is TypeScript, Command is TypeScript. Like, there's so many examples of TypeScript actually of outsmarting a bunch of other, languages. So use what people are using. That turns out
Makes
to be a
sense.
better bet, right?
Uh,
Awesome. Well,
Thank
thanks
you
a lot.
very much. Yes, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you for the extra 8 minutes, and we're glad that we able to host you today. So this has brought us to the close of today's session. And thank you very much. And to the audience, thank you for joining us today. The recording, I'll try to make it go out today, and so that by tomorrow, if you want to replay them, you can. And it's been a wonderful session. Thank you to everyone. Thank you, Ahmad. And this is very eye-opening. Have a very
Awesome.
wonderful rest of your evening.
Awesome. Thanks a
And
lot,
and
everybody.
hopefully,
Thank you for
if you
having me.
keep checking your backend, you should see spike from our little contribution to making people to use command.new. Thanks.
Awesome. Looking forward. Thanks a lot. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Have fun. Use your code for good. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Yeah.